What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm doing my official 2022 NASCAR driver lineup predictions. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. I'm going to be doing my full-time driver lineup and my part-time lineup as well. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it really quickly. Starting off, driving the 00 for Starcom Racing once again in 2022 is going to be Quinn Houff. Even though I thought maybe there was a chance we maybe see Brennan Poole or Landon Cass maybe come back to Starcom Racing, I don't think anything's going to change with Starcom Racing. Quinn Houff has been with the team the last years, and technically he is a free agent at the end of this year, but I don't think anything's going to change with Starcom Racing. I think 100% Quinn Houff is going to be back with Starcom Racing in 2022. Up next, driving the number 1, there is going to be a change at the number 1 team, as I think Kurt Busch is not going to be returning to Chip Ganassi Racing next year. I think the 1 car is going to be driven by Noah Gragson. There's a couple reasons why I think Noah Gragson is going to be driving the 1 car next year. Number 1, Noah Gragson brings a lot of funding with that Rifle Coffee sponsorship. Plus, he does have Bachelor shops, which Chip Ganassi Racing has had Bachelor shops in the past. I think the only way that 1 car will return is with funding, and Noah Gragson does bring that funding. I'm not saying Noah Gragson has been a fantastic driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's been kind of off and on this year so far. But I really do think that Noah Gragson is going to be taking that 1. Plus, I think that a lot of people want to see Noah Gragson in the Cup Series because he's very popular and very polarizing, but he's also got a lot of popularity, and I think he'll be a great personality for the Cup Series. I think Noah Gragson will be driving the 1 car next year in 2022. Up next, driving a 2 car, we're also going to be seeing a change with this car in 2022. As expected, Brad Keselowski is going to be leaving Team Penske here in the next couple months. Expected to be announced that he will be leaving Team Penske. There's going to be change in the 2 car next year. My driver that I think will be driving the 2 car in 2022 is going to be Austin Cindric. Now, there's a couple reasons why I think Austin Cindric is going to be driving a 2 car. Now, originally, it was set that Austin Cindric was going to be taking over the 21 car, but that's because we thought that Brad Keselowski was going to be back with Team Penske in 2022 with a long-term contract, which never came to fruition. I think there's one major reason, couple reasons. That one, Austin Cindric is the son of Tim Cindric, who is the competition director and the president of Team Penske and runs a lot of the operations over at Team Penske at the moment and runs the IndyCar program as well, while Roger is basically owning IMS. I don't think anything's going to change there. I think Austin Cindric stays there as well. The other reason is Austin Cindric is the 2020 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. I think that they haven't had a guy win a championship since Brad Keselowski was in the Cup Series in 2012, and also Brad Keselowski won the Xfinity Series championship in 2010 for them. I don't think anything changes. I think Austin will be driving a 2 car full-time next year in 2022. Up next, driving a 3 car is going to be Austin Dillon. Nothing's going to change here. Austin Dillon's been with RCR since the beginning of his career. Nothing's going to change. I think Austin Dillon's been very solid overall. He's had one of his best Cup Series seasons so far. He's backing up his last year. We want to race. He's still looking for that first win of this year, but he's been really extremely consistent throughout the year. I don't think anything changes, and I think he will improve over time as a NASCAR Cup Series driver. Austin Dillon will be back in the 3 full-time next year. Up next, driving a 4 car full-time for Stewart-Haas Racing once again is going to be Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick is kind of near the end of his contract. His last year of his contract is 2023. There had been potential speculation that he would leave SHR to go to the Foxford booth. That was announced recently. Jeff Gordon's not going to be back in the Foxford booth. Kevin Harvick has a lot of TV commentary. But Kevin Harvick has a contract through 2023. I think he's going to fulfill that. Kevin Harvick back in the 4 car. I know this has been a down year for Kevin Harvick. He's not won a race, and I really think it's going to be very difficult for him to win a race this year. But I think if they're focusing on the next-gen car, and I think Kevin Harvick, especially with a combination with him and Rodney Childers, I don't think anything changes. Kevin Harvick back in the 4 car next year. Up next, driving a 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports is once again going to be Kyle Larson. Now, I'm not sure how long Kyle Larson's contract is with Hendrick Motorsports. I don't remember if it's a 2 or 3 year deal, but the major thing coming in this year was sponsorship. Well, there's been talks behind the scenes that sponsorship really isn't going to be the issue, and HendrickCars.com might just become the official sponsor for Kyle Larson, which is not a bad thing. They're really begging, especially since with how much money is going into Hendrick Automotive Group. I would not expect any changes right there. Plus, Kyle Larson is having an incredible year so far in the Cup Series, already scoring 4 victories and an All-Star win as well. I don't think anything changes. He's been an incredible driver throughout this year, and you want to bring up Kyle Larson leaving the team. Him and Cliff Daniels have done incredible. Kyle Larson will be back in the 5 car once again, in my opinion, in 2022. Up next, driving a 6 car full-time in 2022, we're also going to be seeing a driver change in 2022, as Brad Keselowski is going to be joining Roush and Joe Racing, in my opinion, in 2022, as a co-owner / driver for the team. Now, a couple reasons why I think that this move overall makes sense and why I think this is going to happen. Number one, he's had a lot of tension with Joey Logano at Team Penske. They've really been having a lot of tension over the last couple years. Brad's not been a big fan of Joey Logano's super speedway driving. Number two, his general manager from BKR is working at Roush and Racing right now. Remember, Brad Keselowski racing was really, really successful in the truck series. That's another reason why I think he's going to end up there. And then the final reason is he was supposed to test the next-gen car at Texas Motor Speedway the day they unveiled the next-gen car, but they decided to swap him out and put Ryan Blaney in the car to test that. So there's a few reasons why I think why Brad Keselowski is going to go. And I think this move is going to make a lot of sense overall for Roush and Racing. I think that team's going to be a lot more competitive. They've been extremely strong throughout these years, especially their major improvement over the last few years, especially putting Jimmy Fenning in the organization as the guy who basically runs the engineering at that organization. I think that Brad Keselowski will do incredible things at Roush and he'll be in the 6th car next year as a co-owner / driver of the team. Up next, driving the 7th car for Spire Motorsports, once again, is going to be Corey LaJoie. Now, Spire Motorsports is going to be downsizing one full-time car. They are going to be taking that charter back from the 99 organization. The Trackhouse is basically leasing at the moment. They'll be taking that back and putting that as a charter that Corey LaJoie is going to use in 2022. This is going to be second of 2 years of Corey LaJoie's contract. Corey LaJoie will be a free agent at the end of this year, but Corey LaJoie is definitely over the last couple races, especially here in the Cup Series, as they've been improving. I think they've been kind of struggling when it comes to their engine department. I think they got a lot of work to do, mechanical issues that have plagued them throughout the year. I think they will get better. They've definitely been showing a lot more improvement, a lot more speed. I think Spire Motorsports in 2022 will do really, really well with Corey LaJoie. Up next, driving the 8 car for RCR is once again going to be Tyler Reddick. Now, Tyler Reddick's contract is really unknown, but I believe that this is the last year of his contract. He signed a multi-year contract when he joined the Cup Series. But I don't think anything's going to change. He's won 2 Xfinity Series championships for RCR. He's been extremely consistent. He's still in the playoffs by like 40 or 50 points right now. Why would you want to break Tyler Reddick and Randall Burnett up when they've been really, really good? I don't think anything changes. I think Tyler Reddick will once again be back in the 8 car full-time for RCR in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports once again in 2022 is going to be Chase Elliott. Now, actually, Chase Elliott is going to be a free agent technically at the end of 2022, but I've heard that there is a massive contract that is being worked on behind the scenes. I think that he's going to sign a very, very long contract with Hendrick Motorsports, of course, being the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion. I don't think he's ever going to leave the team. He's been incredible to watch. I think there's a dynasty happening at Hendrick Motorsports. I think Chase Elliott is going to be one of those drivers that's going to lead the charge for years to come. Chase Elliott will be back in the 9 car full-time in 2022. Up next, driving the 10 car full-time once again in 2022 is going to be Aric Almirola. Now, Aric Almirola is technically a free agent. Is actually a free agent at the end of the 2021 season. However, he does bring that Smithfield funding, and I think that that's going to keep him in the 10 car full-time. I know Aric Almirola's 2021 season has not been impressive to watch. It's been really, really not that great to watch, let's be honest. But I don't think anything's going to change. When you have that Smithfield funding and sponsorship is a major, major key thing. I know they've taken a couple races off for him, but I really don't think anything's going to change. I think that tape will definitely improve in 2022. He's coming off at a very strong run in Nashville Super Speedway, finishing, I believe, in like the top 5, ran really well in that race overall. But I think Aric Almirola is going to be back at SHR. I don't think anything's going to change. We have to keep an eye on that as time goes on, but I don't think anything's going to change. I think that Aric Almirola will be in the 10 car once again in 2022. Up next, driving 11 car full-time for Joe Gibbs Racing is going to be Denny Hamlin. Now, Denny Hamlin, just a couple of months ago, back in February, signed a pretty long-term multi-year extension with Joe Gibbs Racing, remained the team throughout the entirety of his career. Now, there are less races that he's going to have FedEx. He's usually at FedEx pretty much every single race except the Southern 500 weekend, the Darlington weekend. But that has changed. There's going to be a few less races he's going to have FedEx on the car. That being said, Denny Hamlin's been really, really good to watch. I know that this year he's not won a race. And the big question is, will Denny Hamlin be able to win a race? I think that he can, but he needs to win a race, in my opinion. He's got like a 300 to 350 point cushion at the moment. And I think Denny Hamlin will be back once again with Joe Gibbs Racing. And he's for sure going to be back once again with Joe Gibbs Racing in 2022. Up next, driving a 12 car full-time in 2022 is going to be Ryan Blaney. Now, Ryan Blaney is in a multi-year agreement with Team Penske. His contract, I believe, goes through the 2023 season. He signed that last year. He has 1 win so far in the 2021 season. Atlanta stealing it late in the race against Kyle Larson. He's been in the top 5, top 6 points pretty much a majority of the 2021 season. Why would you want to break up when Ryan Blaney has been good? Now, that being said, I want to see Ryan Blaney finally win multiple races in a year. He's not been able to do that. I want to see him get multiple victories in a single season, but he will be back full-time in 2022 with Team Penske. next, driving a 14-car full-time for Stewart-Haas Racing is going to be Chase Briscoe. Now, Chase Briscoe's contract is really unknown at this time. However, he's been part of the Ford development program since 2016 when he drove in the ARCA cars in the number 77 for, I can't remember exactly the team he drove for in ARCA, but he won the championship in 2016 at the Chad Bryan organization, I believe. He's been very, very incredible. I mean, this year so far in the Cup Series, he's not had a great year so far. However, I think Chase Briscoe is going to improve as time goes on. When he's had practice qualifying, he's shown a lot more speed. I think Chase Briscoe will get better as a NASCAR Cup Series driver, and he'll improve in his sophomore year in the NASCAR Cup Series. Up next, driving a 15-car full-time for Ware Racing is the first driver that we will see full-time for them is going to be James Davison. Now, James Davison has not ran the full season in 2021, but he's been really, in my opinion, one of the better drivers that has driven for Ware Racing. He's actually kept it out of the walls, been doing very, very good. It's been very, very clean. He's definitely gotten frustrated, but he's been fun to watch, in my opinion. And he has said that he would rather have done NASCAR to start off than start in IndyCar. He's really enjoying his time over at Ware Racing. Plus, I think that this team will improve over time. I really think that 15 team has potential, a little bit of potential, to be honest with you, to be potentially a top 30 team. I think James Davison for sure will be in the 15-car full-time in 2022. Up next, driving a 16-car full-time for Kaulig Racing is going to be Justin Hilly. Now, it was just announced this past weekend at National Super Speedway that Justin Hilly has signed a multi-year agreement with Kaulig Racing to start racing for them full-time in 2022. Now, Justin Hilly has been running a ton of NASCAR Cup Series races so far this year, driving the number 77 for Spire Motorsports. The reason this move makes a lot of sense, especially with them getting a charter, they actually got a charters from Spire Motorsports, which what's really interesting is Todd, I think it's either Drew Braun or Todd Braun is his uncle, and he works at Spire Motorsports. So that move overall makes a lot of sense. Justin Hilly's been racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's been a really good Super Speedway racer, winning 3 out of the 4 Super Speedway races in 2020, which are the only career wins he's had in the Xfinity Series. But he also made the Final Four last year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's had a decent year so far in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. But Justin Hilly will be driving full-time for Kaulig Racing in 2022. Up next, driving a 17-car full-time for Roush and Racing once again is going to be Chris Buescher. Now, the contract is unknown with Chris Buescher, but I've been hearing potentially that he could sign a long-term extension with this team through the 2024 season. He started his development with Roush and Racing. He's come back to the team, and overall so far, he's really, really impressed me so far. Now, he didn't have a really good weekend at National Super Speedway, where he now is only 24 points above the cutoff line. But, man, I've seen some pretty impressive runs overall for Chris Buescher. I don't think anything's going to change, especially since Steve Newmark really wants to keep him in that organization with Brad Keselowski. I think Chris Buescher will return to Roush and Racing in 2022 and continue to improve the organization as a whole. Up next, driving an 18-car full-time for Joe Gibbs Racing is going to be Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is not had overall the greatest Cup Series season so far. He does have one win in Kansas Speedway. However, Kyle Busch is one of the greatest NASCAR drivers of all time, in my honest opinion. And he's a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. He's been one of the biggest faces at Joe Gibbs Racing, and will not see Kyle Busch leave the team. Now, Kyle Busch is actually going to be a free agent at the end of the 2022 season. However, I think Kyle Busch is going to sign a pretty long-term extension with Joe Gibbs Racing. Instead of what Denny Hamlin and Mark Truex Jr. are doing, I think he is going to sign a pretty long-term deal and finish his career at Joe Gibbs Racing. Up next, driving the 19-car full-time for Joe Gibbs Racing in 2022 is going to be Martin Truex Jr. Now, Martin Truex Jr. around the week of the Daytona 500, he signed, I believe, either 1 or 2-year deal extension with Joe Gibbs Racing to remain with this organization here through at least the 2022 season. So he's probably going to be a free agent once again after 2022. But that has worked out in his favor really up until the last couple weeks. Martin Truex Jr. has been able to win 3 races so far in the 2022 season. So far, he's been able to win at Darlington. He also won at Phoenix, and he also had a victory at Martinsville earlier this year. All the races on the 750 horsepower package. And I think that Martin Truex Jr. has been solid. I know the last couple weeks have not gone great, but he's been a very serviceable driver. He's had a pretty big comeback year. He and James Small have generally gelled together very, very well. And I think he will also in 2022 do very well in the Cup Series in 2022. Up next, driving the 20-car full-time, in my honest opinion, is going to be Christopher Bell. Now, this is going to be the last year of Christopher Bell's 3-year contract with Toyota. Originally, Christopher Bell was supposed to race 2 years with Levine Family Racing and race in 2022 with Joe Gibbs Racing. However, when Levine Family Racing shut down last year, that flip-flop race 1 year for Levine Family Racing, and now he's in the second of a 3-year deal with Toyota. But I think he's going to be another driver to sign as a long-term deal. He's been in the Toyota program since 2015 when he drove for Kaulig Motorsports in the Truck Series and has driven the lower-tier series. I would think Christopher Bell is going to get a long-term extension. I know that this year has not gone fantastic for Christopher Bell, especially the last couple weeks, but I think Christopher Bell will be back at Joe Gibbs Racing for sure in 2022. Up next, driving the number 21, we're actually going to see a kept position for a race car driver. Matt DiBenedetto is going to be back in the 21 car in 2022, in my opinion. Here's why I think Matty D is going to remain at this team. The reason I think Matt DiBenedetto is going to remain is that they have an option room. Yes, originally it was announced that Matt DiBenedetto had only signed a 1-year extension with the team, and then he was going to leave them. However, things are going to change, and Matt DiBenedetto is going to remain with Wood Brothers next year. He's got a new crew chief he's working with, Jonathan Hasser. I think they're trying to gel for next year. I don't see anything changing. I think Matty D comes back to Wood Brothers. Plus, I think Matt DiBenedetto does have a lot of potential to take that next step forward. I think he's a very solid driver. I think Matt DiBenedetto will absolutely be back at Wood Brothers in 2022. Up next, driving a 22 car for Team Penske in 2022 is going to be Joey Logano. Joey Logano will actually be in the second to last year of his long-term contract. His contract ends at 2023, but he's been a very, very great driver. 2018 NASCAR Cup Series champion. He's been very solid. He's won 1 race so far at Bristol Dirt, but he's had a solid year overall. Nothing's going to change his team. Joey Logano will be back in the 22 car full-time in 2022. Up next, driving the 23 car, in my honest opinion, once again, is going to be Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace is they're basically built 2311 Racing really around Bubba Wallace. Michael Jordan saw a lot of him. I don't really think that anything's going to change. I think that next year they also will improve overall as a team. They've been kind of a top 10, top 15 team. Their expectations were really, really ridiculous in my opinion, including Bubba Wallace, as they thought they're going to win multiple races. However, I don't think anything changes here. Bubba Wallace will be back in the 23 car with 2311 Racing in 2022. Up next, driving a 24 car full-time for Hendrick Motorsports is going to be William Byron. Now, William Byron is going to be in the last year of his multi-year contract extension he got. However, William Byron has had incredible years so far in the Cup Series. He's had a consistent streak that went for like 11 or 12 straight races. He and Rudy Fugle have been gelling really, really well together. I don't think anything changes on this front. I think that we're going to see this team continue to be around, and William Byron will sign a longer tier extension, but he'll be back in the 24 car full-time for Hendrick Motorsports. Up next, we're going to talk about GMS Racing. The number that they are going to be using for GMS, I think, is going to be the 26 car. Now, I think that there is going to be multiple drivers that are going to drive. I don't think GMS is going to drive full-time. I think that there are going to be 2 drivers that are going to drive the 26 car. The first one is Sheldon Creed. Sheldon Creed, I think, is a really good road course racer. He's also a pretty solid super speedway racer, and I think that they're going to run a lot of road courses. Zane Smith is going to be the other driver, and I think he's going to run the super speedway races and some of the intermediate races. And unlike Kaulig Racing, I think they're going to run some of the other types of tracks as well. I think that that's how the lineup is going to go. I think they're going to run between 10 to 15 races, and I think they're only going to have 2 drivers drive that GMS car. I think it's going to be Sheldon Creed and Zane Smith driving the 26 car. Up next, driving the 32 car for the second 2311 team is going to be Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch is expected to leave Chip Ganassi Racing to go over to 2311 Racing to become a teammate of Bubba Wallace. And there's a few reasons why I think that this move is going to happen. Number 1, Monster Energy sponsorship. 2311's not sure if they're going to get a charter next year or not, and I think that they are going to make the decision to bring Kurt Busch over to the team. He's a championship caliber driver, 2004 NASCAR Cup Series champion. He drove for Roush and MBM Racing. He always gets the best out of his equipment. He's done really, really good, and I think Kurt Busch will bring a lot to the table, and I think he will not only be a great mentor for Bubba Wallace, but he's also going to get to sit in the competition meetings with Kyle Busch, his brother. So I think that Kurt Busch 100% is going to go to 2311 Racing in the 2022 season. Up next, driving the 34 car for Row Motorsports is going to be Michael McDowell. Now, Michael McDowell's contract really isn't known at this time, but he's had the greatest Cup Series greatest Cup Series season he has had so far, winning the Daytona 500 2021, and has basically remained in the top 16 or top 17 in the points pretty much the whole entire year. He's had a really impressive year so far in 2021 season, and he says that he wants to come back to front row in 2022. So I don't think anything changes. I think Michael McDowell will be back with Row Motorsports in 2022. Up next, driving the 38 car for Row Motorsports is going to be Anthony Alfredo. Now, let's be honest about Anthony Alfredo. His season has not been incredible. However, he had a pretty solid run this past weekend with Row Motorsports, running in the top 20 a majority of the day. I believe he finished like 18th in the race, which is pretty good for the 38 car. Seems like that 38 is starting to become a much better team. I think practice qualifying definitely is helping Anthony Alfredo. I think Anthony Alfredo is a very talented driver. Don't get me wrong. I think that him being the youngest NASCAR Cup Series driver that's running full-time, I think it definitely is hurting him. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He never had a full season. I think that's affecting him. I think the second year around, I think he will improve, but I think he's 100% sure going to be back with them in 2022. Up next, driving the 41 car for Row Racing is going to be Cole Custer. No changes here. Cole Custer's dad is Joe Custer, is president of SHR. I know the first years for Cole Custer, besides his win in Kentucky, have not been entirely impressive, but SHR altogether has been down throughout this year. Cole Custer will be back in the 41 next year. Nothing will change on this front. We will see him back in the 41 next year in 2022. Up next, driving the 42 car for Chip Ganassi Racing is going to be Roush Chastain. Now, it is believed that Roush Chastain is technically going to be a free agent at the end of the 2022 season. The 21 season, excuse me. However, Roush Chastain's recent string, I think, is going to really help him out. Chip Ganassi really believes him. They really, really likes him. And I think that is really, really starting to show. I think Ross is a fantastic driver. I think he comes back. I think he doesn't bring a ton of funding, but that 42 car generally has been fun in many, many races, like companies like Clover Bank and even McDonald's at times. I would think that Roush Chastain 100% will be back with this team in 2022. Up next, driving a 43 car full-time for Hendrick and Motorsports is going to be Erik Jones. Now, Erik Jones is in the second year of his 2-year contract, so he's got a little bit of stability with this team. That being said, the 43 car, I think, is going to be making a change over to new manufacturer. Instead of the 43 car being a Chevy back car, I think that they are going to be moving to Toyota. There's been rumors through the grapevine that Hendrick and Motorsports and the 43 team were maybe talking about switching over to Toyota even as early as last year with Bubba Walls. But things are changing. I think that the 43 team has a chance of also potentially becoming another car that could be in association with 2311 Racing. So I think that Erik Jones and the 43 team, which Erik Jones, like I said, will be back in the 43 next year, I think that we could see a change in the 43 car in 2022. We'll have to keep an eye on this for sure. But Erik Jones is back in the 43, and I think that they will switch Toyota in 2022. Up next, driving the 47 car full-time in 2022 is going to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Now, the driver I don't think is going to change. However, I actually also believe that the 47 team is going to be switching manufacturers as well, and I think that they're going to also be switching to Toyota in 2022. I was told about a week or two ago that there is going to be some changes at JTG Daugherty Racing where we're going to see the 47 team also only downsize one car, so Ryan Preece will be out of ride at the end of this year. But we will see them downsize and switch over to Toyota in 2022. And there's one big reason, there's a couple reasons why. Number one, they have in the past had Toyota backing in the past. Number two, a lot of the Joe Gibbs, a lot of their crew members, some of their crew members that JTG Daugherty has are former Joe Gibbs Racing crew members, and some of they use Joe Gibbs Racing crew members. So I would think that they're going to switch over to Toyota, and I think we'll see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for the first time in a Toyota in 2022. Up next, driving a 48 car full-time for Hendrick Motorsports is going to be Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman just announced about a week ago on last Friday that he has signed a 2-year contract to San Joe Hendrick Motorsports for the 2023 season. Alex Bowman's had a very, very solid year. Nothing changes here right there. Alex Bowman's done really, really incredible. I like Alex Bowman a lot, and I think that he will do great things once again in 2022. I think that there's a good chance to win more races than he has this year so far, scoring 2 victories this year so far at Richmond and Dover. Will continue to be one of the big faces at Hendrick Motorsports, and he'll be back full-time with them in 2022. Up next, driving the 51 car full-time for Hendrick Racing is going to be J.J. Yeley. I 100% J.J. Yeley is going to be in this car. J.J. Yeley impressed the hell out of me this past weekend at National Super Speedway, and it seems like every time he gets in this Hendrick Ware car, he tends to run in the top 30 every single race. He's one of the only few drivers I have seen that really, really has done kind of well with the Hendrick Ware Racing organization. And I think that he'll do a lot more for this team. And I think someone that has like veteran presence, I know J.J. Yeley's gotten a lot of crap for how good or bad a driver he is. But I think J.J. Yeley will be in the 51, and I think he'll do a lot of great things for Hendrick Racing. Up next, driving the 52, we're going to have 2 drivers that are going to drive the 52 car. And I think this is going to be the rotation car for other drivers as well. I think we're going to see a mixture of Josh Felicki, Cody Ware, and Joey Gase and Garrett Smithley drive the 52 car. I think Hendrick Ware is downsized into a 3-car operation in 2022, and this is going to become the part-time car. We're going to see multiple drivers drive in this car. This car will still be chartered in 2022, but I think that we will see multiple drivers drive the 52 car in 2022. Similar to what they've done with the 15 car and the 53 car, I think the 52 car is going to be the part-time car in 2022. Up next, driving a 66 car is going to be two drivers driving a 66 car. First one is going to be Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill's been part of the MBM Motorsports camp for a long time. He's ran a majority race this year for MBM Motorsports. I think he'll be back in that car. The other driver is going to be David Starr. David Starr has not been really fast, but he's been with MBM the last year or so. I don't think anything changes there as well. I also do think that the 66 car is going to downsize from as many races they had, especially with them not getting a lot of purse money. I think that they're only going to run about 10 to 12 races in the 2022 season. We'll have to wait and see, but I think if they're going to run a limited number of races, Timmy Hill will probably run a majority of races in the 66 car in 2022. Up next, driving the 77 car, we've got one driver that has 100% been confirmed for the 77 car. That'll be AJ Allmendinger, who is going to basically run all the road courses and maybe a few more races in the 2022 season. However, I think that there are going to be two other drivers. Yes, you heard that right. I think that there are going to be two more new drivers that are going to be driving that car. I think first one is going to be Kaz Grall. Kaz Grall has ran in the Cup Series for this year for Kaulig Racing in the Super Speed races and has been able to run extremely well in those races. And I think he'll run all the Super Speed races and the road course races that AJ cannot compete in when he's going to be running full-time in Xfinity. The other driver, and this might blow your mind, but the other driver that I think is going to drive us is going to be Josh Berry. And the reason I say Josh Berry is because Josh Berry is a very great driver. And I think he's going to run all the short tracks and all the intermediate tracks as well. I like Josh Berry a lot. I think he's a fantastic driver. He's done really good in the Xfinity Series. I think he deserves a Cup opportunity. And I think that Junior Motorsports may be able to help out Josh Berry out just a little bit. And I think Josh Berry will be driving for Kaulig Racing, a three-man organization over there in 2022. Up next, driving a 78 car full-time in 2022, well, not full-time, majority of the year is going to be BJ McLeod. I think BJ McLeod will not be leaving this team. BJ, I think, they basically have said they're not getting rid of their charter, so this team will be back next year. I think BJ McLeod is going to run full-time in all the intermediates and the short tracks and the Super Speedway as well. But I also think there's a good chance we'll see what they're doing in the Cup Series, where they'll have somewhat similar to maybe like they'll have like where Kyle Tilley drives some races and also have Scott Hecker drive a few races as well. Nothing changes there, but I think they will see BJ McLeod run a majority of races in the 78 car there in 2022. Up next, we're going to talk about Gaunt Brothers Racing in the number 96 car. I think Gaunt Brothers is going to do a schedule kind of similar to what they're doing this year in the Cup Series. I think they're going to run about 18. I think they're going to increase the schedule a little bit, though. I think they're going to go from having like 12 races. I think they're going to increase the schedule from 12 to 18 to 20 races. And I think it's going to be a split between Ty Dillon and Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones currently races for Joe Gibbs Racing, and of course, Gaunt Brothers is a Toyota organization. I think that we're going to see Brandon Jones drive quite a few races in the Cup Series in 2021, a majority of them. Ty Dillon's going to be the other driver. Ty Dillon has ran a majority of races for Gaunt Brothers Racing so far. I think that he'll be back in the car for a few races in 2022. I think those will be the two drivers driving the 96 car for that team. Up next, we're going to talk about the first of a two expanded organization. This 97 car, the first Trackhouse car. This will not be the one that Daniel Suarez is going to drive. I think that this will also be an uncharted car in 2022. I think that this car is going to be driven by, it's going to blow your mind a little bit, Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman is expected to be leaving Roush and Racing at the end of the 2022 season. Brad Zlowski is going to be taking over in 2022. Ryan Newman, I think, is a guy that knows setups. I think that he'll be more competitive with Trackhouse Racing, and I really think that Ryan Newman deserves to go out with a bang. I know that people have said that Ryan Newman could retire at the end of this year, but I really want to see Ryan Newman come back and run full-time in 2022 in an uncharted car, of course, but I'd like to see it come back in 2022. And finally, let's talk about the number 99 car, the official Trackhouse car. Now, as of right now, this car is uncharted at the moment. However, I really do 100% believe that Daniel Suarez who's going to be in the 99 car once again next year. This is basically a team surrounding Daniel Suarez. I think Daniel Suarez will be back in the car, and I also think that this car will end up getting a charter for one of the teams that are going to open up, like a Rico Racing, maybe some other organizations that could open up, maybe Starcom Racing. But I think 100% again, Daniel Suarez will be back driving for this team and continue his long-term success. He's been incredible so far to watch, and I think he'll 100% be back with this team again in 2022. So, Anyway, that is my official 2022 NASCAR Cup Series driver lineup predictions. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications so you be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Support page as well. Link description below for that. And comment below your predictions for the 2020 season. Let me know your lineup in the comments below and tell me if my lineup is correct or do you think that your lineup is way different than mine. Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.